Welcome everyone to the showdown between Clan Eshin, who shall be led by Deathmaster Snitch. And today, guys, we face off against Norsca, who shall be led by Wulfric and his piercing blue eyes. But it looks like he's going to have some skin wolves, a dragon. Things are going to get pretty hog wild. Now, as far as the build goes, it's going to be a little bit Clan Eshin, I suppose, because of course we do have the Deathmaster. But aside from that, not too many ninja rats. Going to be trying something a little bit different here, utilizing the warp grinders to protect my rattling gunners and see if that can be efficient against a true Norscan swarm. So up here we have the Deathmaster, and I still don't think he's going to be like a top tier choice against Norsca. I think he's a little bit squishy, and Norsca often brings manticores and dragons, Wulfric on a mammoth, things like that. But that doesn't mean he's bad in this matchup. Of course, having a snare in conjunction with rattling gunners and also his heavy armor piercing is going to be able to hurt a lot of the Norscan lords. But you just have to be very careful. He's a glass cannon for sure. So he's going to be going up the hill there to scout, and he's pretty quick, so I felt safe about this. He's got 54 speed plus concealment bombs. So I was like, I'll probably be able to get away. On top of that, we have a Hellpit Abomination to deal with large threats. Front line's going to be some Skaven slaves, just basic chaff, and they're going to be supported by two groups of warp grinders. So the warp grinders, of course, are just a snaring tool, basically. So you use these bad boys here with the warp quake and the seismic snare to lock things in place. So once I get bum rushed, there's werewolves everywhere, there's dragons, you basically snare them in place, and hopefully the rattling gunners, Hellpit Abomination, and my halberds in the back, which are going to be the Council Guard, ROR, Stormvermin halberds, can do the trick. On top of that, two rattling gunners, and just going to be trying this out. It's a bit of a new build, right? Because normally it would be a little bit tricky to defend against Norsca's onslaught and, defend two gun units here in the back line. My typical build is like Skrolk with like a Death Star and like Hellpit Abominations and things like that. But I honestly think this could be okay. So we got two rattling gunners back here, of course, good armor piercing value. They do have suppression, can certainly tear things down pretty efficiently. Two rat ogres in the back and a plague furnace as well, just to get perpetual AoE damage. The plague furnace is kind of like a insurance card against like mass infantry. It's really good against marauders. Being able to summon the rats like plague monks to cut them down is very, very solid as well. So that's going to be it for my Skaven army. For the forces of the Great Arocrastic, it's going to be marauders and berserkers in the front line. Certainly more than up to the task of defeating Skaven infantry. And look at this bounce of power already, man. That's pretty nasty. He does have a frost form. It looks like it's going to be a fireball caster as well, or a burning head. Oh, he's going to be using burning head to roast my rats. Spirit leech as well to snipe my lords, which is going to be good. Spirit leech plus Wulfric hunting Deathmaster. Very scary stuff. Two groups of skin wolves, chariots, and over here in the forest, it looks like he does have a core of marauder horsemen, which again make a pretty decent backline harass unit against Skaven, and also do have decent missile attacks against like Hellpits and rat ogres and things like that. So let's get the show on the road, guys, and see how this battle goes. So the brave Hellpit Abomination of the Skaven clan going to be surging up the hill, just in case there was like Wulfric just popped over the hill and was like, surprise, and jumps on Deathmaster. I wanted to make sure I had something nearby that could help. So seeing where his army's coming from, I also did see his troops over here in the forest. I'm going to be reorienting. Yeah, I don't know why. That's such a weird thing for my brain to process right now. Just going to be reorienting my army right here and basically just turning to face the approach of Arocrastic's forces. So right here, it looks like there's going to be a breath attack from the dragon, and I do see it coming, so I try and kind of fan out in a straight line so it's not as devastating. I still do lose a fair amount of clan rats. Looks like in total I did lose about 25 of those bad boys, but really not that bad. We get a little bit of damage back on the frost storm from the rattling gunners, so at the end of the day, not the worst situation in the world. So basically just bracing for the onslaught. I do have some pretty good mass in the army. I have two ogres, a Hellpit, a furnace, so I have a couple things that can really stop up like chariots and werewolves, but there's a lot of them, right? I have to protect against the skin wolves, the chariots, the mammoth. In the back there's three groups of marauder horsemen, so it's certainly going to be putting the warp grinders' names to the test. That'd be like the perfect time to edit in Leonidas from 300 there. But rattling gunners, the teeth breakers, are going to be opening up. I believe they're shooting at one of the single entities here, the chariots, and it looks like there's going to be a burning head coming in, but I will be opening up against the berserkers as they advance, slowing their advance down to 23 speed and doing some decent damage, but the burning head quite devastating there. So we send in Deathmaster here, and we're going to be using the Whirl of Weeping Blades here, which is going to be doing potentially some decent AoE damage, if I'm not mistaken. Werewolf surging into the back line, going after the rattling gunners, so you can see a big onslaught push right here. Skin wolves pushing in, another group pushing in, but I thought I was going to get both of them in the snare, but he was able to get away with one skin wolf. I was like, damn it, that sucks. So we lock these ones in place. They're taking a little bit of AoE damage, not terribly efficient against them, but more importantly, it's like holding them in place and letting my rattling gunners in the back continue to shoot at the dragon, which they've done some decent HP damage to. Certainly not upset about that. Nonetheless, my Council Guard a little bit out of position, and the Marauder Horsemen are able to surge in and really shut down my rats, but with the pressure from the front and the back, it was very, very tough to protect those guys, and I realized that very quickly. On the other side, the Warp Grinder doing a relatively good job, able to get some decent AoE damage on these guys. I was able to snare and kill the Marauder Horseman skirmish in the back, so those guys get broken off pretty damn hard, and also it did lock Wulfric in place, at which point the Hellpit Abomination was able to get some really good HP damage on him. On top of that, you can see Arocrastic here is going to be using Spirit Leech on top of the Teeth Breakers. Very, very good choice for sure. The Rattling Gunners are a very threatening thing to his force, and it looks like on one side he's completely collapsed my flank pretty hard over here. As far as what I have left, I have 100 Council Guard, but yeah, the Warp Grinders are gone, the Skaven Slaves are all running, and the Rattling Gunners pretty much pushed off. So pretty big victory for Norsca over here. Granted, we have gotten good damage across the board. The Frost Realm here is pretty broken down. Wulfric has taken some damage as well, and we have secured this flank for the most part. Now over here, this is a pretty ideal situation for the Deathmaster. Granted, it looks like he's having some trouble in this duel against his Shaman Sorcerer, and also there's going to be a bunch of werewolves coming in, so I tried to get Deathmaster. I was hoping he would kill the Sorcerer really quick, but we were actually on him for like a good minute there. We couldn't quite burn the boy down, so a little bit scary. So just to help out Deathmaster, since he is now surrounded by werewolves, we're going to be sending in some clan rats to try and free him up and maybe allow him to jump on top of that Shaman Sorcerer or some of those other tools. In the meantime, over here, we do have the Helped Abomination going fisticuffs here with Wulfric, as well as the Frost Realm, getting some decent damage, but trying to fall back to my summoned Plague Monks and also getting my Plague Furnace in to make sure we get that Mortis Engine effect. Granted, there's not too many good targets for it. Marauder Horseman will take some decent damage, but for the most part, there's like no infantry or things like that. Frost Realm jumping back down, going to be jumping up on top of that Hell Pit Abomination, doing some okay damage, but the Hell Pit does have regeneration, which I'm quite happy about. And over here, we do have some Rattling Gunners coming back, perhaps, and some Warp Grinders and some Ogres, so we might actually be able to stabilize this position and get some Rattling Gunners back online. But Balance of Power is relatively even, pretty much the same as it was when the battle started, largely due to the fact that Deathmaster here is actually able to assassinate the Shaman Sorcerer. So he gets in there, he shanks him in the back with his Weeping Blades, and the support of the Clan Rats here was really nice and kind of freeing up that situation. But that Shaman Sorcerer is 100% assassinated by the Deathmaster, who's going to be Naruto running here into these chariots and hopefully is able to get some damage on those guys as my Clan Rats do dissipate and fade into the ether. So here we do have the Hell Pit Abomination coming back in to finish off the chariots, and suddenly it's like, I felt like I was in dire straits and I was just straight up losing this game. Like, it was just a disaster, right? But we were able to stabilize this side of the battlefield. We have a Warp Grinder, we have a Furnace, Hell Pit, Deathmaster's in okay shape, I guess. I guess it's probably like 1,000 HP, but yeah, we're in okay shape, and I think we may have a path back into this game as some Rattling Gunners do come back over here. The Warp Grinders, Rat Ogres are all doing their thing as well, and potentially get some really good downtown shots here. But this Plague Priest fighting the dragon, a little bit rough. I did kind of move away here, and it looks like a nice Burning Head's going to be going down, just burning through the witches there, roasting some rats, and yeah, it's got to be one of the more heavy metal spells in the game. So it's mostly Clan Rats and Skaven Slaves here, just kind of chaffy units, but it still did some really good damage. I was able to break up my Clan Rats and my Skaven Slave Spears, and that really gets rid of, you know, more of a buffer for my forces. So Deathmaster here does get afflicted by the Hunter of Champions. So now he's being hunted down by Wulfric here, which is quite scary. I do have 4 Council Guards still giving the Guardian buff here, but this is a pretty good gooning attempt for sure. Frostworm's coming in, Wulfric's coming in, and it looks like Deathmaster might be on his last legs here. I'm trying to get away. I popped the Whirl of Weeping Blades just to, I think it did a little bit of damage to these guys. I wasn't sure, but I was just hoping it would make me like harder to hit. I just wasn't sure. But anyways, Deathmaster's Sigil is active here. Hell Pit Abomination is going to be running in, and the Deathmaster is going to be falling back, and he might actually survive this somehow, some way. And here the Furnace is going to be jumping into the Horsemen, applying that Mortis Engine effect, instantly breaking those guys because of the terror of the Hell Pit Abomination, so that's quite nice. And we were able to get away with Deathmaster, so the Clan Eshin Lord himself is able to squeak away. That actually was not an intended pun. Unfortunately, my Rattling Gunners in the back were hunted down by some Skin Wolves. I wasn't able to protect them from the premier condom brand of the old world. Sorry about the phone notification going off. Damn, I can't figure out how to silence that phone correctly. Anyways, here, Warp Grinder's going to be coming in as well, which is quite nice. And guys, the balance of power is in the favor of Aerocrastic here. He's certainly in good shape, but Deathmaster going to be adding another caster here. He was able to take out that Norscan caster. I think he's around here somewhere. That looks like he got shanked pretty good by the Deathmaster. That's it's right there in his little fur coat. That's a really nice pick for sure. And now Norsca, I mean, what do they have left? They have Wulfric, they have a big old Frostworm, a fair amount of infantry, and some Skin Wolves coming back in, but my Hell Pit Abomination is healing. Deathmaster is certainly in a very precarious situation, but he is able to just get under that breath attack and dodge most of it. So, man, this is just a really, really tense game. So Deathmaster here going to be just lurking near the Plague Furnace. Concealment Bombs is active, so right now he should be invisible, and the Hell Pit Abomination is just going to be watching Wulfric, and yeah, there's, you know, threats from all angles, but really the true hero of this battle right now is this one Council Guard who does, of course, have 17 or 3 health, providing the Guardian buff here to Deathmaster. So that's a really nice. I mean, you know, some of the attacks coming in, that could be a game changer if he still lives. So obviously at this point, Aerocrastic does have the mobility advantage. He's got a couple of Marauder Horsemen he can kind of shoot in, do a little bit of crossfire. I summoned some rats over here just to kind of get some free poke on Wulfric. I just figured, like, might as well do it before my Plague Furnace gets gooned out here. So at this point, we're going to be going in, and Wulfric's taking a couple shanks. You can see his HP is kind of dropping very, very slowly, but it's still dropping, so I'm quite happy about that. And the balance power is kind of normalizing a little bit, but we do use the Deathmaster Sigil, so he does have that snare. It allows the Hell Pit Abomination to get in there and get some really good attacks. And now the Frostworm's going to be landing as well, so Concealment Bomb's still active. Deathmaster is currently hidden, so Arrow can't see him. But using this, we use the Warp Grinders. We trap down the Frostworm. He is snared in place. And Deathmaster plus the Hellpit Abomination going to be jumping in. You can see the Deathmaster able to kind of sneak in there and get some really good shanks on the dragon. And down goes the dragon. The beast has fallen. And suddenly the balance of power is going very, very heavily into the favor of the Skaven as Wulfric's on the run. Unfortunately, I don't have a snare with the Warp Grinders because I just used it on the dragon. So we're just going to be having to go in the old-fashioned way and jump in on top of Wulfric. Just an absolutely insane game. We do get a Pestilent Breath in the back from the Furnace, doing some okay damage against Marauder Horsemen. But we're all in here. We basically have to chase. But, you know, the Werewolves are coming in pretty hard. They're going to get a full surround. And, of course, like I said, Deathmaster is very squishy. I used my Concealment Bombs. Hunter of Champions is active. And, oh, no, here comes Wulfric jumping in. And, oh, the Rat Man just getting trampled down. And is he going to be going down here? It looks like it. You can see that the Deathmaster is down to 0 HP, so he gets just completely trampled by that Mammoth right there. You can see Wulfric at 700 HP. But Wulfric just with the 1-2 punch, taking out the Furnace and the Rat Lord in one fell swoop. And now my Hellpit Abomination is fully surrounded, and it's easily going to be taken out by a bunch of Skin Wolves. They're pretty much a counter to such units. So anyways, down goes the Hellpit Abomination. Extremely well played Arrow. That was a very fun game. Down to the wire. And, you know, I thought there, I was like, I'm going to come back. I'm going to get this. We're going to get him. We pulled ahead on the bounce power. We got the Frostworm, but the fact that Wulfric didn't get snared by that Warp Grinder was like the deciding factor. He was just a little bit out of range there. I probably should have waited a second longer, tried to get closer, because had he been caught by that, pretty much 100% dead. The Hellpit and Deathmaster would have been able to get him before he could rally and get his Hunter of Champions and get his reinforcements nearby. But man, just such a close game. Down to the wire. As far as the build goes, I really think it was quite suboptimal. I think the Rattling Gunners just weren't good. The Warp Grinders aren't capable of protecting against an entire horde like that alone. It's only a temporary snare, and they're going to get out eventually. So yeah, I think, you know, Deathmaster as well is decent in this matchup, and he did okay taking out the Shaman Sorcerer and the, you know, these different caster characters. But, you know, Skrulk would have done just as good with Libra Bubonicus and his basic melee profile. But yeah, Deathmaster is not bad for sure, but I think the build, you cut the Rattling Gunners and just get more mass and more punch, and basically I would still keep a Warp Grinder or two because they're just so good. But yeah, I would probably cut the ranged assets. Maybe keep like the Teeth Breakers and then cut these guys and just get a little bit more mass in the form of some Ogres. And yeah, get Skrulk as well probably. And I think you're going to have a pretty good build. So very well played, Arrow. Make sure to check him out on YouTube. An outstanding player, an outstanding guy as well. Bringing in that old Blue Eyes over there. Norsca man. Wulfric coming in on that Mammoth. And man, he sure stepped on my rats for sure there at the very end. That was really crazy. All right, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.